Need dirt or aggregate, or you need to get rid of it? The Soil Connect Marketplace connects those who have it with those who need it. And our new e-ticketing service makes order verification, confirmation, sharing, and record keeping completely contactless and digital. Keep it local, keep it safe, keep it moving. Soil Connect, the #1 materials marketplace for dirt and aggregates, for everyone who plays in the dirt. Available on the App Store and on Google Play. Learn more at soilconnect.com.
Quick shout out to PKA Marketing for the great intro video. Soil Connect is a free platform that is creating efficiency and transparency in our old school fragmented world. It's time we stop calling around to all of our friends who needs it, when they need it, why they need it, how much. At Soil Connect, we make it quicker, faster, and cheaper to resource and move your dirt and aggregates. Our app is free. Our marketplace is free. It will take you less than 3 minutes to download the app from iTunes and Google Play Store. Our mission statement is one-stop shopping for any and all your dirt needs. We started with dirt. We added aggregates and all other types of materials like compost and mulch to our marketplace, and we will continue to solve problems for our users each and every day. We recently released a contactless e-ticketing, and we just also released Quick Ticket, which will give everybody the flexibility to create a ticket on the fly as job sites change from hour by hour. And in the very near future, we will be releasing our new product where we will be first to market, and very excited what's coming in the next few weeks. Today, we have a very special guest. I'm excited to introduce to you Becky Schultz. Becky began covering our construction industry in early 1991 and has been the chief editor of Equipment Today magazine since '98. In addition to her role on the publication, she is a regular contributor for ConstructionPros.com and Groundbreakers podcast, which highlights major industry innovations and trends, as well as the latest advances in construction technology. Becky, welcome, and thank you for being on Soil Connect Live.
Well, thank you, Cliff, for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Becky, I'm going to be honest, you look a little nervous today. Now, I don't want you to be nervous. I know you're usually the interviewer, and today you are the interviewee. So I promise to make this painless.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So in all the recent Soil Connect podcasts and live events, we've been talking about construction technology and the explosion and how much money has been invested. 2 months ago, we had Aaron Thompson from the Walsh Group, and we spoke about investment and technology and adoption through Walsh. Last month, we had Cemex Ventures CEO, Gonzalo Galindo, and we spoke about what makes a startup interesting to invest in and where their world is going in the concrete industry. But what we really haven't spoken about and we really haven't dug deep on is all the different technologies that are evolving and emerging within the construction technology world. For an example, we have marketplaces like Soil Connect, as an example, bringing buyers and sellers of dirt and aggregates in one place. Another interesting marketplace is Trade Hounds, where it's a labor marketplace. There are SaaS products out there that are helping our industry each and every day. Robots are being introduced into our world, electric trucks, electric excavators and machines, remote controlled excavators, autonomous vehicles, drones, and I can go on and on. So, Becky, clearly we cannot cover all these topics in one session, but let's, from an overview, have a nice conversation, and then maybe if I can convince you, you'll come back and we'll discuss more in detail. So, from the beginning, Becky, where did this all begin and how did it all happen?
You know, it's an interesting thing because I was thinking about that question, Cliff, and one of the think that kept coming to mind is there seems to be kind of a convergence of three different aspects of the industry, three different elements that really made a huge difference in where we are today with construction technology. The first one that I would say is the emissions controls, the emissions regulations. When we first started seeing those emerging, it required the introduction of more electronics into the diesel engine technology that in order to be able to meet the emission standards that were being required at that time. And as those electronic systems were being implemented, it allowed for greater communication between the different components within the equipment. And so you had all of this technology capturing information, performance data within the equipment that then is able to be transmitted outside the machines through what is now known as the telematics technology that we know today, and that it has been embraced by the industry, that enables better performance of these machines and better management of the machines. The other thing that I think is a kind of that big element is the fact that we saw major advancements in satellite-based systems. We saw an expansion of the global satellite network that's allowing for greater transmission capability of that data, but it's also allowing for greater communication across the industry, not just here in the US, but globally. So that's a huge factor. And finally, looking at the cellular system, we moved from 3G connectivity to 4G, and now we're moving on to 5G. And that has made a huge difference in those areas that don't have satellite access. That it allows for data to be transmitted faster, more efficiently, and you're able to see more efficient communication and connectivity. And it all comes back to, it plays into that whole connected job site that we keep hearing about. The fact that you're able to connect all aspects of the job site in a single platform in some cases, but there's also so much greater communication capability that it's developing this community within the construction industry that we never really had before. So I think that that really is driving a lot of the things that we're talking about, that you mentioned, things such as automation, the ability to track data, to be able to collaborate more effectively. It really is driving a lot of the construction technology that we're seeing today.
Yeah, I mean, overall, you know, when I think back when I was a kid on the job site running around, you know, there was no communication from the office to the field. And so, you know, I love to tell the story about in the early 80s when everybody remember beepers came out. And that was like in the early 80s, that was a big deal. And so my dad and my grandfather, they asked me what a beeper was, and we bought a beeper, and now I had a beeper, and they loved beeping me in the field. But the problem back then is I always had to have a roll of quarters, Becky, get a load of this, a roll of quarters in my truck. So after they beat me, I could run to a payphone and call them. Right, so it's come a long way since the early 80s and beepers and cell phones. I got my first cell phone in I hate to say it, 1988, and the technology obviously has evolved, you know, tremendously, and so here we are, and we talk all the time about bringing technology in the office to the field and having everybody being more efficient, having access to all the information almost immediately. So yes,
Absolutely.
So that's really important in terms of efficiency, in terms of work product, getting done quicker, just everything is just more productive. But also tell me a little bit about the cloud and enabling the stakeholders from the project management systems and all those types of systems. Those have evolved a lot also recently.
Yeah, they really have. And I think that what's interesting is if you think about how this all factors together, especially over the course of the last year, we have seen the cloud-based technology really become such a huge part of being able to stay in communication with all different aspects of the project. Cloud-based technology, it's something that we've been hearing about for a number of years, but it really didn't start to become as big an influence in construction, I think, until really the last year or so, because contractors had to find new ways to be able to ensure that they were able to convey information about what was happening on the job site to every potential aspect of the project, whether it's the project manager, or excuse me, the project owner, the architect, the civil engineer, the project manager in the field, even down to somebody who's doing the installation of components on the job site. There needed to be a way to communicate that didn't necessarily require that individual to always be face to face. And so I think that we have seen some tremendous strides in cloud-based computing systems and their ability to be able to allow for this greater collaboration. And whether it's project management technology that is driven by the cloud and allows for all different aspects of the job site to be managed, whether it's building information modeling systems that allow the individual to be in contact directly with all the stakeholders and be able to visually show them what is actually transpiring on the job site. I was just looking at a product release that was from Procore about their BIM technology that actually allows the individual who is looking at something on, say, an iPad or another mobile device, they're able to actually physically look at that and then contact another user and be able to physically look at exactly where they are on the job site, and they can convey that information back and forth, and they can make sure that things are being done exactly the way that they're meant to be done. They can show project progress. We're seeing this being used in those kind of formats. We're also seeing it being used with things like drones, where drones are able to capture survey data, or it may be used to monitor, how much material has been removed on a site, or it may be able to monitor stockpiles. And all that information gets conveyed back in real time so that whoever needs that information is able to access that directly and be able to get the insight that they need, and it speeds the progress on a project and can increase both the efficiency, the productivity, and save tremendous cost in rework. So this kind of technology is very exciting because it allows for a lot of collaboration. I think the other thing that's exciting to me is the fact that there's platforms out there. You mentioned trade hounds. These are the type of platforms that allow not just a company, but the individual construction workers to be able to talk directly to each other. Trade Hounds bills itself as the LinkedIn of the construction industry, and they're targeting the construction vertical in a way that makes so much more sense for the industry. And there are other platforms that take kind of a similar approach, but are more directly employment platforms. But what it all boils down to is that they're able to stay in contact, they're able to communicate, similar to almost a Facebook or a LinkedIn type experience, share what they're doing on a project, and be able to just have that connection that they've never had before. I look at it as a system, such as a platform such as what Soil Connect provides. There's another great example, and I always get very fascinated hearing more about what you're doing with Soil Connect, because there's another platform that's connecting people who have, each one of these individuals has a problem that they need to have resolved. You have somebody who needs a product, and you have somebody who needs to get rid of a product, and they're trying to avoid exorbitant costs that might be associated with that. And you're connecting them in a positive way, and giving them a platform. And it's all very seamless. It's all done largely, I mean, through cloud networks, I assume is the basis of your platform as well.
Yep.
And it's so simplified, and it just gives people an opportunity to talk and communicate and build relationships in ways that they've never been able to do so up until the last few years.
Yeah, so so Soil Connect, like you said, we're connecting those who have it, those that need it, and our mission statement is simple. We're going one-stop shopping for any and all your dirt needs, and in our roadmap ahead of us, we're going to work on the logistics side of things, and we will be a total end-to-end platform in what we're doing. But just hitting the rewind button for just a second there. You brought up drones. Drones is an amazing thing for me. I'm truly fascinated by what drones can do and how they're doing it and how that technology has evolved. Last year, I did a presentation for the Built World Summit, where startups come and present for other construction companies and other investors. And there was one drone startup, I think they were based out of Europe, adding as part of their technology the ability to drive a stake in the ground and identify the point that the builder, developer, contractor needs. And that was totally ability, Becky. This was fascinating for me. They had the ability to drill a hole from the drone, then take the drill out of the hole and then drive a stake. Absolutely fascinating for me, and that company is really starting to make a lot of headway in Europe, and I'm assuming they'll be here in the States real soon. But going back to you, of all of these different technologies, is there one that just really fascinates you, that you say, that you get up and say, how do they do that?
I think there's a lot of technologies that are out there right now that are really fascinating me. But, I think the whole aspect of automation, the ability to remotely control equipment from thousands of miles away, whether it's remote operation or whether it's really true automation of a process. I think there's so many exciting things that are taking place there. And it does all go back to what I first started talking about. This isn't something that could have been capable, 20, 30 years ago without having the ability to have these satellite and cellular-based connections available, because automation is dependent upon this technology to be able to ensure that it is safe and it is able to be repeatable. And so this is something that it all ties together, and I find it so fascinating. I think the other thing too, there's, like I said, there's a lot of things, but robotics is another aspect that I think is really going to be fascinating for this industry. I know that there is a lot of concern that you're going to see, these automated machines and the robotics are going to take over jobs. But looking at what the tremendous challenges that we've had with labor shortages in the construction marketplace, yeah, these technologies offer opportunities to address that. They're able to take over some of these tasks, these more menial or repetitive tasks, or even unsafe tasks that that potentially put workers in harm's way. They're able to take those processes over, and you're able to take your skilled laborers, your skilled workforce, and apply them to jobs that require a little bit more of that skill set and the more complex projects. So there's a lot of things that are coming into play in this industry. They're not going to happen overnight. I mean, I'm hearing, complete full machine automation. Is it even 5 years down the road? Is it even 10 years down the road? It's still in its infancy so much, but we're seeing variations of automation coming into play in equipment. Robotics, we're starting to see more and more different forms of robotics that are entering the market space. But they haven't quite gotten there yet. That, you know, you look at something like Spot, the dog, so
Yep.
you know, quote unquote dog, but this is a technology that it's a robotic dog looking device that is being used now on construction job sites to be able to monitor progress on a job within a building, or to be able to get into unsafe areas that you don't want workers going to all, you know, all the time. And they're able to actually program it to do loops around these sites to be able to track what's happening. And it's all very fascinating. Is it common or widespread? No. Is it coming? Yeah, I think so. And it's really kind of an exciting time to be in the industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then, you know, when we talk about robotics, have you seen the robot that lays cement blocks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating how it works and how efficient and precise it is. Really interesting stuff with the robots and how that's going to evolve. So, you know, I think I have one more question for you, and then we'll kind of, you know, wrap this up for another day, because I could talk about this, you know, morning, noon, and night. So, you know, look, it's clearly well documented that our industry, the construction industry, has been slow to adapt to, as compared to other industries, to the new technology. So what do you see when you look into your crystal ball? You know, we're all acknowledging that technology is here. We're all acknowledging that, you know, you should adapt it and embrace it, because it will make you more efficient after you go through little speed bumps. But you deal with contractors and manufacturers all day, every day. What does your crystal ball look like next year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years out?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question, Cliff, because it is something that has come up fairly frequently in the last several months. The fact that we have seen a tremendous change in the industry in the last year. Contractors have been kind of forced into accepting technology in a way that they haven't in the past. The pandemic required them to embrace, like you said, contractors have always been somewhat tech averse. They've been challenged in terms of accepting technology into their operations, because let's face it, they have been burned in the past. And plus, it's just what you don't know can be intimidating, and it's a hard sell to say, here's the return on investment from applying this particular piece of software or whatever it might be on your job site. It's a little bit harder to quantify for them. But the pandemic has really kind of accelerated that tech adoption in pretty dramatically, because as I mentioned before, contractors had to find other ways to communicate. Who ever thought that a year ago we would have seen contractors using platforms like this to be able to talk to each other, to talk to the project owners, or to talk to dealers about their equipment needs? This is something that we never envisioned would ever become like a traditional part of the conversation. And now I can definitely see going forward that this is going to become more of a norm for contractors, because it gives them a way to be able to save costs on physically traveling to a location. So you're going to see, I think, a hybrid of technologies that are currently in use because of the pandemic continuing to be used even several years from now. But I think you're also going to see an increasing adoption in technologies that are cloud-based systems that allow for greater collaboration on the job sites, and between all stakeholders, because they just make sense, and they allow for that immediate real-time communication and addressing of problems, rather than having to wait days or even weeks to get the information and make changes that could end up costing thousands of dollars on a project. So I do believe that we are on kind of that cusp of it, kind of a technology revolution within the construction industry. I think that it's still a little bit slower moving than you might see in other market sectors, but we are definitely starting to get there. And I think that the more contractors see that they can successfully apply different types of technology, the more willing they are going to be to further adopt other forms of technology. And I think it's also, when you look at something like a Soil Connect, and I'm not trying to plug just your company and your product, but there's something that most everyone nowadays has: a smartphone. It's as simple as picking up your phone, hitting a button, and there you are, you're on the app. It's so accessible now to people even on the job site. So it just makes a huge difference in the familiarity and the willingness to adopt technology. And I think that we are moving forward, and it's still a little slow right now, but I suspect that we may see rapid change within the next 5 years.
Well, and I agree 1,000%. And the reason why I agree 1,000% is for a lot of the reasons we discussed earlier about the ability to communicate in the field and through the office, right? And also what's really, really a key, in my opinion, is the younger generation is now moving up into these companies, into middle management, into upper management. And let's be honest, the younger generation are used to just picking up their phones and abracadabra, a couple of clicks, they have everything and anything they need. And so when you combine all of that new technology, you combine the younger generation now maturing into more important upper management roles, it's just a natural fit that, yes, you're 1,000% in the next 3, 4, 5 years, it will absolutely explode even more than what we are witnessing today. And so with all of that, I think this is a great spot for us kind of just tap the brakes and kind of conclude right now. I'm hoping that this was relatively painless. I'm hoping that you'll agree to come back at a later date. And so for all you out there, if you have any questions for me at Soil Connect, feel free to reach out to me at info@soilconnect.com. And Becky, how do people reach out to you if they have questions for you?
If they have questions for me, they can contact me at bschultz@acbusinessmedia.com, or you can reach out to me through our web portal, which is forconstructionpros.com. We're also on all so happy to communicate with you at any time.
And so on a final note, I want to thank personally the entire Soil Connect team for the hard work and dedication. A special thanks to Teresa, who is our Chief of Staff, Stephanie, who produces Soil Connect Live. Thank you for everyone who listens in. And next month, we will have another important guest for